All right, welcome back, Chelsea fans, to another London is Blue YouTube exclusive talking about the Chelsea women's victory over Liverpool in the FA Cup semifinal to reach the final at Wembley for what seems like an every year occurrence, but this will be the ninth FA Cup final. Talk about the record here in a little bit. It's pretty decent. But Chelsea do end up winning 2-1 on the day in a pretty scrappy game. This was the first game back after an international break. And, Chelsea have not always played free-flowing football out of an international break. It's kind of ups and downs. And so it was a challenge coming back to have a semifinal right after an international break where a lot of players were out for their national teams and playing a lot of football this time of year anyway. So we're going to get into all of the specifics and a lot of Sonia Bonpastor's quotes because this is now the final stretch. And I think that, after the Man City heroics a couple weeks ago, and that kind of lackluster draw that we witnessed in person in London as a podcast, I think she came back and was pretty fired up. And so let's dive into all the specifics right now. All right, for those who didn't watch, Chelsea do win 2-1 over Liverpool at home in Kings Meadow in the FA Cup semifinal. This was, again, a pretty up and down affair. Go through the scores here, of course. Aaron Cuthbert stoppage time in the first half. Aggie Beever-Jones, who is becoming more and more clutch as we go in the second half stoppage time, 94th minute roughly. Olivia Smith started things off for Liverpool in the 21st minute. They got off to kind of a flying start. And if you think about, the last couple of years, Liverpool have played spoiler against Chelsea. This is a team that has, whatever the right formula is against us, they seem to really show up in these matchups, even though they're not, one of the top of the table teams in the WSL. They really do give us some challenges. And Sonia Bonpastor put out a pretty strong lineup. This is Hannah Hampton, Lucy Bronze, Natalie Bjorn, Millie Bright, Sandy Baltimore, Vika Kaptein, Kira Walsh, Erin Cuthbert, JRK, Myra, and Aggie. I mean, this is a really, really strong lineup for an FA Cup semifinal. Second half subs of Shukanoskin, Kat Macario, Guro Wrighton back in the fold. Thank God she's back for the crucial run-in, which is wonderful. Unused subs, Mia Fischel, Ashley Lawrence, Neve Charles, Micah Hamano, Orion Jean-Francois, and Rebecca Spencer. The stats will make this seem like it was a super dominant Chelsea performance, and this is where I'd encourage you, if you haven't watched the match, to go watch it, because it maybe wasn't the dominant performance that the stats would suggest. 24 shots for Chelsea to only 6 for Liverpool. You kind of expect the differential there because Chelsea are playing at home and are just a better team. But only 4 shots on target of those 24 for Chelsea and 2 shots out of 6 for Liverpool. So a much, much better percentage for Liverpool on target than Chelsea. Chelsea did dominate possession with 60%, Liverpool's 40%, outpassed accuracy, committed more fouls, had only 1 yellow card to Liverpool's 2, and 16 corners to Liverpool's 2. I mean, again, the stats would suggest that there is a lot in this and that Chelsea played some really dominant football. But, again, it was a little rusty at times. And despite all of the passing and all the possession, it wasn't a clinical performance. We'll touch on Bonpastor's quotes here in a second. We do have one random stat, and Harry Edwards always comes through in the clutch on these. CFCW haven't lost a home FA Cup game since May of 2014, winning their past 22 home matches in the competition. I had to look twice at that. I had to really process it because obviously, the FA Cup is a very consistent tournament for Chelsea. Chelsea usually deep in that tournament, but to not lose a home match in the FA Cup since we're coming up on 11 years now is absolutely insane. And Chelsea back in 2014 were not Chelsea of today in terms of dominant play and big names and all this sort of stuff. It's been an emerging thing that's happened over the years. So just a huge credit to the team. I'm going to read a lot of Sonia here, and bear with me because I'm going to be reading these quotes. I don't have them memorized, but I do want to read these because I think you can kind of get where her brain is at coming out of a performance like this. Obviously, Chelsea get the late winner. It wasn't a clinical performance, but you obviously move on to Wembley, and that's really what matters at the end of the day. So see if you can peer into where she's trying to go. It was a dramatic game, lots of emotions. In the first half, we conceded a goal, and we knew something like that could happen because we were really thinking Liverpool were going to try and catch us in transition. They have the quality to do that, so they got the goal in the first phase of the game. I think when we consider that goal, we just stuck to our principles. We stayed strong. We tried to score, come back in the game. We did that just before half, and I think mentally it was important to score that goal in that moment. I told my players we need to stick with the game plan. I think it was the right thing to do today. Keep the belief, go and try until the end. I think it's important just to stay patient and have belief in this type of game. It's a cup game, so those are always special games. I think it's the semifinals, so we were expecting to have a tough game. Liverpool were in a good dynamic, a good run, and yes, I think we were expecting that. If you're mentally able to keep focus to the end of the game and in the important moments of the game, you're able to turn things around. I think that's really positive. She also mentioned Liverpool came to fight hard and to try and win the game, protect their goal. She also said, it's a little frustrating as a manager when you know some teams are going to come just to set up a bus in front of their own goal. But it is the way that it is. I mean, Chelsea are no strangers to playing these types of opponents this year. And maybe fortunately or unfortunately, our next opponent in Barcelona will not be playing that kind of football. So perhaps Sonia will get her wish that we won't have to see another low block in the same way that the Liverpool set up. She continues to mention here, you need to be strong, stay strong defensively, and yet just to be clinical when you have the opportunity to score. We talked a lot before the game about having high standards going into these games, right? And that's really where I want to start the insight one, because if you rewind your brain to Man City, there was a lot of emotion coming out of that second leg. Chelsea obviously win the tie, advance to the semifinals of the Champions League, and then kind of lay an egg at home against West Ham United, of all teams, who are not very good. Chelsea played him off the park for 30 minutes and then really didn't do much after that. And it's like one of the worst types of results to have as you head into the international break. It just kind of leaves you wanting more. Even though it wasn't a loss, it kind of felt like a loss. And we're not used to losing this year. We've only lost one game, and that was to City in the first leg of the Champions League. So I think she came back a little on edge, ready to go, ready to commit to memory that this team are made up of winners. And that is exactly what insight number one is, that winners win. This team has consistently delivered in big moments all year. And coming back from an international break into this type of match where Liverpool will surely have more players that were well rested and ready to go for this type of match. The expectations of playing at home in front of your home crowd, all these sorts of things really factor into this. And to continue the quotes, and I won't bore you too much more with these, but I think they're really, for me, kind of inside of her brain right now. She talked about those high standards, right? Just to continue this, going into these games, a ruthless mentality, a winning mentality. That's what I want to see from my players, and I think for part of the game we showed that, not for the whole game. Notably, a lot of that first half. When you get to this moment of the season, you don't really get time with your team to work on your game model, your game plan. You expect what you worked on in preseason and the beginning of the season. The players understand what you're trying to achieve on the pitch, and they are still able to achieve it now. The most important thing is to make sure you win the game. I think in this part of the season, the most important and decisive time in the season, otherwise known as winning time, you need to win games no matter the performance. But as a manager being at Chelsea, my expectations are to be able to perform and to get a good result. When it's the case, I'm really happy. Sometimes when you don't perform the way you want to, but you win the game, that's most important. And this is fascinating. right? Because there have been times in the season where Sonia has been upset during a win. There's been times where we've had a really scrappy performance and she's been pumped about the types of performances. I think back to that first Arsenal game away. Didn't play that great, but came across as winners at the Emirates, and that was a big moment early in the season for Chelsea to go on this long run of undefeated football until a few weeks ago. She's now saying to her team, "Good, win, right? Winning is good, and winning is the number one objective. But we don't just win here. We got to play well. We got to perform. We got to perform for more than one half. We got to perform for more than 70 minutes. We got to perform and put in a full shift." And with the talent that she has at her disposal, I am curious if she starts to make earlier and earlier subs, if she sees something not working, or switch up something tactically, if she sees that it's not going to allow her team to perform at their maximum level. Because she's right. We'll get into the schedule here in a second. There's not that many games left in the season, and you really want to be hitting your stride, hitting into a crescendo, right? If you're a music person at this time of the year, you want to be playing your best football. And Chelsea have played glimpses of their best football against City, a really difficult team to play against. But has it been consistent? Maybe not. And I think she's saying we got to raise the level. And I think that's super important. Speaking of just raising the level and some clutch genes, how about Aggie Beever-Jones? We just talk about Aggie here. More stats from Harry Edwards, of course. Chelsea women have now scored 10 90th minute goals this season. 3 have been match winners, sealing comebacks to win 2-1. Lauren James versus Everton, assisted by Sandy Baltimore. Erin Cuthbert, assisted by Ashley Lawrence versus Man City in the WSL. And then Aggie against Liverpool, assisted by Sandy Baltimore again in the FA Cup. Harry also goes on to say, for those interested, Aggie Beever-Jones has averaged 0.75 goals per 90 minutes for Chelsea this season. She's also now scored 25 goals for Chelsea all time. This is a young player, still growing into the final product, but is becoming not only like a critical component to this team. I think right now she's in my strongest 11, but she's becoming a clutch player, a person who is able to control the chaos in her own head and just show up for the big moment. She had a couple of chances before she scored to put the game away, and finally does with a brilliant header. It was not an easy header to make, and puts it on in the roof of the net. This is a real player. There's a lot to say about a young player who's kind of coming and hitting their stride at the right time. I think if Aggie does not end up starting against Barcelona, especially with Lauren James's injury, she'll be really disappointed. And this was one of the quotes from Bon Pastor as well. She said, "I think Aggie has the right mentality. She has the right mindset. We had some conversations throughout the season. Sometimes she's a bit frustrated because she was not starting some games, but I think that's the right mindset. It's a competitive streak, right? As a player, you need to just compete to start every game. Sometimes you need to understand that Chelsea with a big squad means that you need to be a little bit patient, but she's always working from the beginning of the season until now, hard on the pitch with the right mentality. She's always asking for extra work, always asking how she can improve her game depending on what position she's playing on the pitch. She had some moments where she was doubting for a little bit, but not that long. I think that's a normal young player, young striker sort of thing. You go through peaks and valleys. An interesting thing that we learned from this post-game press conference is Sonia thinks that she's actually a number 10. And I think a lot of people have kind of pigeonholed Aggie as maybe a second striker, maybe in that number 10 role, but a lot are either on the wings or as a pure number 9. And we've seen her in multiple positions, left, right, and center for Chelsea this season. She said, "I think for her, the best position she can play is number 10. I think she has a lot of strengths, quality play in different positions up front, but I really see her as a number 10. She also said that we haven't really had a chance to do that this year. There's a lot of different number 10s within the team. Kat Mack, Laura James, list goes on, Micah Hamano, etc. But really, really interesting insight there. And I'm curious if she's setting that up for a future encounter, perhaps. Maybe Aggie behind a Myra, maybe as a second striker in there. Be really interesting. But Aggie said, right after the game, being Chelsea, we want to be in finals, helping us do that. I'm delighted. But I think it was a great team performance. So credit to every single person on the pitch who gave it their all. She's a humble kid. I mean, really is. I mean, it's why I think an overwhelming majority, 99.9% of Chelsea fans love Aggie. Not only is she one of our own, a real Chelsea supporter, but she's also a really humble, hardworking character as well. And she's a player that is now reaching the peak of her powers, right? And I think that's a really, really exciting development, and probably not something with the entire huge squad that Chelsea have that we had on our bingo card for this year. She made huge strides last year. I was curious if she was going to get stunted by the players returning from injury and just the amount of incredible depth that is in this Chelsea attack. But she's kind of taken on all comers, and I think it's incredibly important. Super clutch goal, by the way, taking from the likes of Erin Cuthbert, who is another clutch player. Interested to see what happens with her. I will say Chelsea are going back to Wembley, insight number 3 here, for the final to play Manchester United, who beat City in the semi. Chelsea have won the FA Cup 5 times, will now play in their 8th FA Cup final since 2012 on May 18th. If you are in the UK, please go get tickets for that. Dan and I and Jake went a couple of years ago when we beat City in the final in that thrilling extra time encounter. That was a crazy, crazy game. Please, please, please go get tickets to the final. Root on the team. It is such a great atmosphere in there. And I think the City final had like 77 some odd thousand people in it. It was a huge, huge atmosphere. It was rainy and cold and not that great out when we went, but it was really, really great day. Mark Skinner seems to think they're going to get revenge on us. I don't know, Mark. That's an interesting take. But think about 8 finals since 2012. So basically, most years, Chelsea are playing in the final of the FA Cup, and it should not be taken for granted. The quadruple is still on, right? And Chelsea are obviously 1 down, likely going to win the league. Barcelona coming up. This is another final. Like, just think about the enormity of the season for Chelsea right now. It's absolutely insane. So again, if you're able to go to the FA Cup final, if you live in the UK or you're traveling to the UK during that time, please go. It's a wonderful time. And the upcoming schedule for Chelsea is actually a little bit of a break here before Barcelona. We have roughly a week before we play Barcelona on the 20th on Easter. This is simply one of the 2 biggest matches of this season. We know Barcelona. We know their strengths. We know how well they play. I will do a full preview video for this and make sure that everyone's prepared. But holy hell, that's coming up. And, the team has time to rest, get their act together after an international break, and really make this a semifinal to remember. So let's root them on. Thanks to everyone who continues to watch these videos and support the work that we're doing for the Chelsea women's team. We know it's a little bit of different structure than the normal podcast, but on to Wembley, on to another FA Cup, and until next time, you know what to do. Keep the blue flag flying high.